Hi, everyone. Welcome to the second episode of the Parade People Cop podcast. I'm Jamarcus Mudkip, one of the managers of the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade Wiki. And today I'm joined by our usual co host, Macy's Parade fan, also known as Alex.
Hello, guys. I'm glad to be back.
And also with us today is one of my fellow managers slash owners of the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade Wiki, Apple.
Hello. Hello.
All right, so today we decided the best choice to talk about would be all of the new elements that have been announced so far for this year's 98th Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade.
Indeed. So at the time of recording, we have I believe it's 5 balloons announced. Am I correct?
4.5, sort of.
4.5, sort of. We'll get into that half part later. And then we have 2 floats as of right now.
And one feature balloon that ties in with a float.
And one feature balloon that ties in with a float. That we will also get into and explain a little bit more about.
All right, so I guess the first thing to talk about would be the extraordinary Nora balloon and the Elf on the Shelf, which was announced way back in May of this year.
Yeah, the extraordinary Nora and Elf on the Shelf balloon, sponsored by the Limstella Company, was a really early surprise to be announced that early. I don't think we've had a balloon be announced that early in quite a long time, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, the last time that happened was back in 2017 with GS, and in fact, it was such a surprise that, we weren't even sure if it was meant to be announced. We were like, should we even make this public? Because what if they did it by mistake? But it was indeed real.
Yeah, it was truly a surprise for us in May. But from the digital computer rendering that we have of the balloon, it looks like the main character of this balloon will be Nora, with the female elf on the shelf hanging from the wolf's back.
It will be 66 feet long, which is pretty lengthy for a modern day balloon, and of course it'll have the Northern Lights pattern on Nora's tail, and so far from the concept art I think it's a very Macy's Parade balloon. Like, if I were to think of a balloon in the Macy's Parade, this is what I think of, if that makes sense.
Indeed.
Yeah, Nora is my favorite balloon. Like, so far, when the balloon was announced, I knew for a fact it would be my number one favorite. Like, it's amazing. So far.
I think it solves the issue that they've had in the past few years of not having very many holiday-centric balloons. Obviously, there was Pikachu and Eevee and the Pillsbury Doughboy, who sort of switches on and off between a holiday balloon and a non-holiday balloon, but this is one of the straight up holiday balloons.
And to bring back that point with Pikachu and Eevee on the sled and Pillsbury Doughboy, they also switch off with being the final giant balloon in the parade.
Yes, let's hope this year that Pikachu and Eevee can be the second to last instead of the last for the 4th year in a row, just for a change.
Just for a change. And that'll bring us to our next balloon, which is Marshall from the hit Nickelodeon TV show PAW Patrol, and obviously it will be sponsored by Nickelodeon.
That's right. Chase flew for the past few years since 2017, and of course PAW Patrol is still as big as ever. So instead of just retiring Chase and not having anything PAW Patrol related, they figure let's bring one of probably the second most popular rescue pup, Marshall, who of course is the Fire Dalmatian dog.
I think keeping the PAW Patrol narrative rolling in the parade is a big key feature for PAW Patrol and Nickelodeon to continue to have a balloon in the parade, as it will be I believe, the 9th appearance in a row for PAW Patrol. As like Jay mentioned, it will be after Chase's retirement after his debut in 2017. But no, I think that this is a great design. It looks sort of similar to Chase, but it's definitely a really, really good design for a balloon in the parade.
Well, yeah, that's one thing I'm glad you mentioned is that for all the balloons, their designs, they all have this. It's what I like to call the forward motion. They all look like they're, in an action pose, which makes sense when they're flying as a balloon, so it doesn't look like they're just, statues like some of the Goodyear balloons. As much as I love them, they were just sort of, characters standing there, but uh, they've really hit the mark in recent years of making it look like it's a natural pose for the character, but also making it make sense in the form of a balloon. Like Kung Fu Panda last year, for an example, he's doing that, karate kick, and which again makes sense as a balloon that's moving down the route.
And to spin off with that Poe look, I'd also like to give a little bit of a mention to the new Beagle Scout Snoopy and Woodstock balloon, as it looks like they're walking down the parade route as they'd be walking down a trail because they're part of Beagle Scout.
That's right. And speaking of walking, one character that surely does a lot of walking in her exploring is Dora the Explorer, who is returning this year as a new balloon float combo.
Yes, and the title of this float and balloon combo, also known as a float balloon hybrid. Finally got that out. It's a tongue twister. The title for this float balloon hybrid will be Dora Fantastic. It's Dora's Fantastical Adventure.
Fantastical
if I'm not wrong.
Rainforest.
Fantastical Rainforest. As Dora will be making her triumphant return to the parade this year after being on a hiatus for I don't know how many years.
Since 2014, so 10 years at this point.
So it's great to have, Dora back in the parade. And to kind of explain what a float balloon combo is, it's basically a feature balloon, or recently known, or mostly known as a mid-sized balloon, follows behind a float that matches the detail of the balloon. For example, the Baby Shark float balloon combo that has been in the parade the past few years. That is a float balloon hybrid.
Yeah, and I do want to make the clarification. So let's say, like, the Big Bird balloon and the Sesame Street float, that wouldn't be considered a balloon float hybrid because they're separate units. But, for Baby Shark and Dora, they are part of the same unit. Even though the balloon and the float are separate, pieces, they're still part of one cohesive unit. Also, sticking with the Nickelodeon theme, they also announced the garage, which was being introduced as part of SpongeBob's 25th anniversary.
Right. So this year, a carriage will be either in front of or behind. We're not really sure. The SpongeBob and Gary balloon, as SpongeBob will be gearing up for its 25th anniversary on Nickelodeon. So to celebrate the 25th anniversary, they are adding a carriage to the giant balloon that's already been in the parade since 2019.
We don't know the exact design of it yet. We do know it's motorized. I don't know how it's going to work with a balloon bus. We'll wait and see. I think it's going to be pretty cool by the sounds of this.
In my opinion, a new Paw Patrol element was overdue, and I'm glad they chose Marshall. For the garage, I'm very interested for what could happen with it. Like, what if maybe characters could appear, maybe, who knows. As for Dora, I really love the rainforest design, like the way that all the characters are, I don't know, just the enthusiasm and the feel just makes it, the colors pop out. And oh yeah, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles float is also getting a reverb, which is nice to see.
Yes, that'll be rethemed to the tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
And now we move on to our next balloon. That is personally one of my favorite newcomers this year. It is Spider-Man, sponsored by Marvel. Now, I feel like this was long overdue. I feel like they should have done it when they introduced Miles Morales into the Spider-Man world. But no, I absolutely love the design of this balloon. It looks amazing. It's Spider-Man doing his Spidey pose as he's looking like he's going to spin a web down the parade route this year.
That's right, and one thing I appreciate about this balloon is that, in a time of where everything's remake or reboot where everything has a different look. This is sticking to the style of a very legendary Marvel comic artist John Romita Sr. And so it's harkens back to the old days of Marvel, and it looks beautiful. I think I'm very excited to see it in real life. And like Alex said, it was very long overdue. I think a good time to introduce Spider-Man would have been 2018, 2019, whenever that whole Infinity War stuff was going on, because that was really when I think Marvel movies were at their peak.
It's my favorite design of him. I really love how it's in Wamita's style, and how he helped design the original balloon alongside Manfred Bass. It's too great to see that they're paying respect to him.
And moving on from
Indeed,
Spider-Man to another legendary New York fixture, the Bronx Zoo will be sponsoring a float called the Wondrous World of Wildlife, and it's a cool float. I love it.
Yes, I love how we have our a new sponsor with the parade, the Bronx Zoo, coming along. I love the jungle look with the different areas of wildlife on the float. I love how it's incorporated into this new float that we were getting with the Bronx Zoo. I love how it has the bridge connecting the three different parts of this balloon or of this float, and it's going to be a great thing. It's going to be a great float to see go down the parade route this year.
Yeah, I one thing I did notice about this float is that it has three float bases. So I think the last time that happened was with the On the Roll Again float back in 2010, but this one seems much more complex because there's these whole almost dioramas on them representing different exhibits that you can find at the zoo in different biomes and animals. And at the back of the float, my favorite detail, perhaps in any Macy's parade float ever, is they have a tiny baby gorilla, which, mwah, chef's kiss.
And you're talking about the last time we had a three base float
That's right, yeah.
with. I think the last three base float was Coach.
No, that was only two.
Two. Gotcha. Um, but no. Like Jay said, I love how they have the little baby gorilla at the back of the float. Really love that little key feature that they added into it. And we're gonna hand it over to Apple for his thoughts.
The float is a beauty. It is nice to having a float sponsored by a zoo this year, especially since this year marks the 100th anniversary of the first parade, which followed live animals from the Central Park Zoo. Like, it's a real nice coincidental tribute.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because, assuming this float stays around for, the usual 3 years that a float does, it'll be part of the 100th parade, and I think a perfect way to remind people of how far we've come from, an elephant walking down the street and lions and tigers scaring kids to the floats and balloons you see today.
Exactly. And now we're going to move on to our next float that was introduced this year is the Strikes Again float, which is an animated float by Go Bowling as they continue to bowl down the parade route with this new float. As it is, like I said, it's an animated float with the robot sort of looking girl who has the ball in her hand. That arm will be moving down the parade route.
And it'll also be flanked by a couple of people dressed as bowling pins. I'm not sure if there'll be special characters or whatnot, but and this isn't confirmed, but I believe what will happen is that when the animatronic bowling girl goes to throw the ball, the pins will get lined up and then they'll scatter as if they've been hit.
The float is amazing. Like, it has that old, reminds me of like an old animation, like the girl, it just has that unique style. Like the animatronic, I feel like it is going to be an amazing float.
Yeah, the style reminds me of the Gravy Pirates, the Dishmates back in 2021. The same sort of triangle eyes, and I guess they're also on Tony that vintage but modern look.
And now, next on our list of newcomers who was just recently introduced last Tuesday, was Goku, as this will be his second version in the parade, sponsored by Toei Animations, which currently has a balloon in the parade with Monkey D. Luffy, which they introduced last year.
Yeah, this is a balloon that personally I was not expecting whatsoever. I remember I was in school and I checked the Discord server and it said new Goku balloon. I'm like, no, there's no way. But lo and behold, it's Goku. Instead of being in a Super Saiyan form this time, he's with his regular jet black hair, and uh, definitely not as maybe intense looking as the previous incarnation. But this design definitely feels a lot more friendly and the more optimistic side of Goku, I guess you could say.
Indeed, it is. And not to darken the mood, but when I got this news, I was on the way to my grandma's funeral. But it kind of lightened the mood for me in that kind of dark of a day as it was. Um, but no, having Goku continue to be in the parade, I was there for his debut of his first balloon, which seeing it in person was kind of scary, but it also was insanely huge. Um, no, I think to continue Goku in the parade is something that I'll be looking forward to.
I will say I was not expecting a second Goku, given given how perfect the original was, in my opinion. I do like that he looks like he's saluting. Feels like he's saluting to Akira Toriyama, passed away.
Yes, and I can't help but wonder if maybe this somehow encouraged this balloon to debut. Obviously, it was it's also debuting as part of the 40th anniversary of Dragon Ball Bus. There's of course always a possibility he also debuted in part to pay memory in memory of his creator.
And now we go to that half of a sort of announcement. Over the weekend, Macy's posted a video on their social media pages of what looks to be a Disney glove holding a balloon with a city backdrop, which has us in our Discord here wondering, will Mickey or possibly Minnie be coming to the parade this year?
Yeah, they Macy's has been sort of very somewhat cryptic about it because in the comments they were like, there's people saying like, "Oh my gosh, is this a Mickey Mouse balloon?" And they're like, "Oh, we can't wait, you'll see." And they've been responding with like black and red hearts, which is of course Mickey Mouse colors. But given how Macy's has been pulling fast ones on us for the past few years, who knows? Maybe it could be Minnie or even Goofy for all we could know.
Right, but all we know, it's some sort of Disney character at this moment in time of recording. Maybe the somewhat maybe Disney character will be getting announced here shortly, maybe before this video is uploaded, or but at this point we are not sure.
Honestly, it is nice to have Disney having a balloon again. Like, it was all off and all that. Honestly, it's very nice.
All right, I think that just about wraps up all of the new announced elements so far. If unless I'm missing something.
Well, all I'm gonna say right now is stay tuned, because there's definitely going to be a lot more thrown at us in the next upcoming weeks as we gear up for a month until the parade, and then the month of the parade, and then the weeks coming up the parade.
Yeah, there's gonna be
So definitely stay tuned.
there's gonna be lots and lots of news. Hopefully we can stay on top of it and discuss this at a reasonable rate. Our next news episode will probably be after November 1st when everything gets announced. But until then, I think we still probably have a couple more balloons, lots more floats, I would assume, guest stars, marching bands, performance groups, the whole kit and caboodle.
Oh, and since we're here, at the time of recording, a few nights ago, a new marching band was introduced for 2025.
Yes, that's right. It will. I think this is the final band to be announced for 2025. It is the Marching Pride of North Alabama.
Yes, the Marching Pride of North Alabama University out of Florence, Alabama, will be making their first parade debut next year for the 99th Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, which will hopefully be as good as the past few have been, and hopefully we'll have a great parade this year as we start gearing up for the 100th annual one in 2026.
Yeah, I think these next few weeks and quite possibly these next few years, I'm going to be eating, sleeping, and breathing everything about the parade. Even more so than before, if that's possible.
I don't even think that's possible for me at this point. I've had so many parade memories that I don't think I can stack on top of them anymore. But who knows? Only time can tell.
All right, so that just about wraps up our second episode. Thank you for joining us. The response to the first episode has been very pleasing, and hopefully we can continue to grow and become, a semi-regular occurrence.
Yes, we thank you guys for the positive response to our first episode. And we are extremely glad to be back for our second episode, and hopefully we can continue to be a listen wherever you are, in the car, doing dishes, cleaning the house. We hope that we can keep your day full, and we hope to enlighten people on Macy's parade news as we continue.
All right, yeah, that's it. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye.